Law enforcement surveillance technology designed to help police solve crimes, also raising some questions over privacy, oversight, and how it's used.
Flock cameras are now in over 200 communities across Wisconsin, and a recent investigation into an officer's alleged misuse is putting that technology right back in the spotlight. Samantha Cavalli looking closer at the tech and what police have to say about those privacy concerns.
Hundreds of police departments across the state are turning to Flock cameras to fill the gap between staffing shortages and solving crimes faster.
It's been very impactful in a positive way for our department.
In April 2022, the city of Neenah installed 6 Flock cameras, mainly near major entry points, capturing license plates and vehicle details in public view and matching them to databases of stolen or wanted vehicles.
Not only are we able to solve more of our own crime, but we are able to assist in solving other agency crimes, and in turn those agencies are able to assist us.
But the technology is also under scrutiny. Earlier this month, a Menasha police officer was arrested, accused of misusing the system to track someone. And in the Madison suburb of Verona, the Common Council recently voted not to renew its contract with Flock after public pushback, according to an article from Wisconsin Public Radio.
What our technology does is captures what's plain view information, what you and I can observe with our own eyeballs. It's public information that's being captured for a very limited period of time to aid in crimes. That's been useful across the state of Wisconsin.
Josh Thomas with Flock Safety says the system does not track people or use facial recognition, but every search is logged and available for audit, including investigators from Appleton Police accessing the Menasha officer's activity log. Images are also permanently deleted after 30 days unless the law requires otherwise.
This is why we built the system, is to be able to hold people accountable if they abuse it. We want these systems to be really, really easy to use to stop crime and really hard to abuse. And if they are abused, the proper authorities can hold people accountable.
I understand the concern for privacy, but just like anything else, we have to balance that with the need for an effective tool to keep the rest of society safe when we're apprehending criminals or we're investigating crime.
Both Thomas and Neenah Officer Benoit agree the cameras have made a difference and say transparency and oversight are crucial. In Neenah, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.